A week before the wedding, my fiancée Daphne went to the hospital for a prenatal checkup, accompanied by her newly hired junior assistant, Daniel. But unexpectedly, she ended up getting an appointment with me. I tightly clutched Daphne's pregnancy report in my hand and looked at the two people outside the door through the crack. Daniel wrapped his arm around the woman's waist and pulled her into his embrace, confessing his love affectionately. "Daphne, I love you. I love you too, Daniel. I'm only marrying Ethan because of the current situation, but the person in my heart has always been you." Without hesitation, I took out my phone and sent a message to my father. "Dad, I accept the arranged marriage with the eldest lady of the Mia family. The wedding date remains the same, but the bride will be changed." Looking down from the window of the consulting room, I saw that Daphne had already walked out of the hospital, arm in arm with Daniel. I picked up my phone and called her. "Are you coming home tonight?" She replied instantly on the other end of the phone. "I won't be back. Tonight, there's an urgent matter in the company again, and I have to work overtime." I looked at the two people embracing on the roadside. "Are you sick? I thought I saw you in the hospital just now." Daphne's hand, which was adjusting Daniel's tie, froze for a moment. She looked around, and seeing that I wasn't there, she secretly heaved a sigh of relief. "No, you were mistaken. I've been in meetings at the company all day." My eyes became misty. "You sound in a good mood. Did you encounter some good news today?" Her voice turned cold. "There's nothing like that, but there are other things to attend to in the company, so I'll hang up now." As soon as she finished speaking, she hung up the phone. Then Daniel carefully helped her into the passenger seat, and they drove away together. I watched this scene, and the words of her affectionate confession to Daniel just now echoed in my mind. "Daniel, I love you. I'm only marrying Ethan because of the current situation, but the person in my heart has always been you." My heart ached densely, and tears streamed down my face involuntarily. In the afternoon, I got off work at the hospital and went home, only to find that Daphne was also at home unexpectedly. A ripple of hope rose in my heart, but soon her words made my heart sink again. "I'm going to stay at the company for the next few days. I'm back to pack a few clothes." The glaring red mark on her neck betrayed her, and I knew she was lying again. I didn't expose her. Instead, I helped her pack her clothes and toiletries. Seeing me so calm without making a fuss, she was taken aback for a moment. "I made you dinner. It's on the table. I will definitely be back before the wedding." As she spoke, she was about to come and hug me. I sidestepped to avoid her and asked the question in my heart unwillingly. "Do you really have to stay at the company? We're getting married in a week." Daphne's face darkened. "The company is facing a tight cash flow, and there are a lot of things to do. Can't you be more sensible and stop causing me trouble all day long?" She picked up her luggage and slammed the door as she left. I stood there, stunned, unable to come back to my senses for a long time. Daphne and I were childhood sweethearts. From childhood to adulthood, I always liked to run behind her. She used to be very kind to me in primary school because I was fat. I was always bullied by other little boys. She would bravely stand in front of me and scold those boys who were taller than her. In high school, my grades were poor, and I was under a lot of academic pressure. She would study with me to improve my grades, and during the winter and summer vacations, she would take me on trips to relax. When did all this change? Ever since Daniel joined her company and became her assistant. 2 years ago, I went to the company to bring her a loving lunchbox. She threw it into the trash can with a look of disgust, saying it didn't look appetizing, and then immediately started eating the takeout ordered by Daniel. I made a scene about it at that time, but the result was that she protected Daniel behind her and slapped me. She also scolded me and banned me from entering the company again. A year ago, she gave my thick formal dress to Daniel. She made me stand in a thin shirt for a whole night in the snowy winter, and I ended up in the hospital that night. Half a year ago, I went to try on wedding dresses with her. In the middle of it, she was called away by a phone call from Daniel, leaving me alone in the bridal shop. I endured the mocking looks of others and ordered the wedding dress by myself. It was only later that I found out that she had actually gone to see the sea with Daniel. I used to naively think that as long as I was good to her, listened to her, and didn't make her unhappy, she would turn around and see me. As long as she turned around and saw me, she would remember our past, and we could go back to the way we used to be. But in the end, I was the only one living in the memories. Her prenatal checkup form was like an invisible slap in the face. Daniel's confession to her was like a knife stabbing straight into my heart. Now we're almost getting married, and she still chose Daniel. How ridiculous. In this 5-year relationship, I was the only one who had been blindly giving. But in the end, what did all these efforts mean to Daphne? A stumbling block on the road of love, a hindrance, a nuisance in life. I didn't hesitate any longer. I took out my phone and sent a message to my father. "Dad, I accept the arranged marriage. With the daughter of the Mia family, the wedding date remains the same, but the bride will be changed. In fact, my father once said that Daphne wanted to marry me so that he would invest in her family's business. I just didn't believe it at that time. But now, I have to face this. Reality, it was precisely because her company was facing a cash flow problem last week that she was willing to wrong Daniel and marry someone she didn't love. Since that's the case, then I'll fulfill this illicit office romance between them at the dining table. I opened the lunchboxes that Daphne brought back one by one. At just one glance, I recognized that these were all Sichuan dishes that Daniel loved to eat. Leftovers, with a pungent smell of spiciness. She remembered what Daniel liked to eat, but she didn't remember that I don't like spicy food. And she even fobbed me off with the leftovers. I was very tired after a day's work. I didn't feel disgusted anymore. I took a few bites and then went to bed in a hurry. In the middle of the night, I woke up because of the unbearable stomachache and curled up in the quilt. I picked up the phone on the bedside and called Daphne, hoping she would come back and accompany me to the hospital. But I couldn't get through to her no matter how many times I called. I endured the stomachache and got up. It took me 10 minutes to get to the living room and pour a glass of warm water. I leaned weakly against the sofa to relieve the pain. Suddenly, the phone dinged, breaking the silent night. It was a friend. Request from Mia, the eldest lady of the Mia family. The Mia family and my family have been friends for generations. When we were young, Mia would often follow behind me and call me brother, but later she went abroad to study. Calculating like this, I haven't seen her for almost 20 years. I hesitated for a moment but still accepted the friend request. As soon as I agreed, a message was immediately sent from the other side. "Why haven't you gone to bed so late?" I replied. "Truthfully, I have a stomachache. Come out quickly, I'll take you to the hospital." When I saw the message, my heart skipped a beat, and I looked towards the door. Did she mean that she was at my door now? Before I could figure it out, my father's call came in. "Ethan, I heard from Mia that you have a stomachache." There was a lot of concern in my father's tone on the other end of the phone. "Yeah, a little. It's much better now." My father was abroad at this time, and the time difference was the opposite of that in China, so I wasn't surprised by his call. "I received your message agreeing to the arranged marriage last night, and I immediately told the Mia family about it." Unexpectedly, Mia flew back to the country without saying a word and went downstairs to your place. She's been standing there for so long. Well, she just called me and told me as soon as she heard that you had a stomachache. She's afraid that you'll be stubborn and refuse to go to the hospital, so she asked me to persuade you. Hearing these words, it would be a lie to say that I wasn't touched, but it was just a moment of being touched. At the hospital, Mia first accompanied me for a physical examination and then helped me pay the fees everywhere. When she finally finished everything and came back to my hospital bed, the exhaustion on her face was hard to hide. I felt a little embarrassed. "Thank you. You've been busy all night. You should go back and rest first. I can get the Fara drip in the hospital by myself." The light in Mia's eyes dimmed a bit, but she still complied with my wishes. "Okay then, you rest first. After you finish the 4 drip, I'll come back to pick you up." I nodded. After watching her leave, I pulled the quilt over me and closed my eyes to fall asleep. The next morning, I was woken up by Daphne's phone call. "Hello. Even if you're being naughty, there should be a limit. Where have you gone again? Why didn't I see you when I came home this morning?" The sudden questioning left me at a loss for words for a moment. It wasn't that I didn't call her last night, but she didn't show a bit of concern. Bitterness welled up in my throat. I explained feebly. "I ate something spicy last night, and my stomach problem flared up. I'm getting a 4 drip in the hospital." There was a moment of silence on the other end. "For 3 seconds, you've been getting the drip all night. You should have finished it and come back by now, right?" I looked up at the 4 bags, which still had 1/3 of the liquid left. "Yeah, I'll go back now." I hung up the phone, pulled out the needle from my hand, and left. As soon as I got home, I saw Daphne leaning on the sofa with a gift box beside her. My gaze swept over and landed on her. "Why are you back?" In the past, I would have been eager for her to come home every day and be affectionate with her, but now I asked this question out of the ordinary. Daphne felt a bit uncomfortable, but soon it was replaced by other things. "I want to eat the crab roe porridge you make. Pack a portion for me after you make it." I had a vague suspicion in my heart. I'm afraid it's not that she wants to eat it, but Daniel does, because I accidentally came across Daniel's posts before, where he would share what he ate every day. Among them was the crab roe porridge that I made for Daphne and packed for the company. As I walked into the kitchen, I pretended to say casually, "Crab roe porridge." Speaking of which, I remembered something interesting. A few days ago, one of my patients almost had a miscarriage because she accidentally ate too many crabs that her mother-in-law brought back from the restaurant. Crabs are cold-natured foods. Anyone who eats too many of them will be like that. But that mother-in-law actually blamed the chef of the restaurant afterward. Don't you think it's interesting? Fortunately, the child was saved. I turned my head and glanced at Daphne. Seeing that her face instantly turned ugly, I was even more certain of the thought in my heart. I thought I was already numb, but there was still a dull pain in my chest. My eyes also became sore. I turned back bound to adjust my emotions, and continued to wash the rice as if nothing had happened. Daphne's cold voice came from behind. Don't bother cooking it. I don't want to eat it anymore. The gift on the table is for you. Also, there's a business dinner at noon. You'll accompany me to attend it. After saying that, she turned around and left. I put down the things in my hands, looked at that gift, and smiled self-deprecatingly. She doesn't even. I remember that I can't eat spicy food. How could she remember that I don't like wearing watches? My heart seemed to fall into an ice cave in an instant, and the blood in my whole body seemed to freeze instantly. My heart felt as if it was being gnawed at by ants. I clearly wanted to cry, but I couldn't shed any tears. I don't know how long it took before I adjusted my emotions and packed up the gift box. Then I went to the hotel where Daphne was. I could have refused, but I wanted to have a proper end with her. Consider this a farewell meal. When I arrived at the hotel, I sat quietly next to Daphne and ate the food in my bowl. At this moment, the woman beside me suddenly spoke to me. Ethan, this is Julian, one of the shareholders of the Mia Group. Our company has a cooperation to discuss with him. Go and offer him a toast for me. I still sat there, eating the food, and calmly refused. I just got out of the hospital. It's not suitable for me to drink alcohol. Daphne didn't let it go, and continued. This order is very important. I can't drink alcohol, so you have to offer the toast. I put down my chopsticks. I'm not your employee. This is your assistant's job. As I spoke, I turned my gaze to Daniel. She followed my gaze, and her face instantly turned dark. She whispered and scolded me in my ear. He's not feeling well. You're a doctor yourself. Can't you show some understanding? Before I could refute, she pulled me up and stuffed a glass of white wine into my hand. Julian, this is my fiancé. I asked him to offer you a toast. With the atmosphere like this, I could only force myself to drink it. However, I underestimated Daphne's indifference. For the sake of her order, she completely ignored my health and made me drink cup after cup. By the time the order was signed, I was already pale from the stomachache, and a thin layer of sweat broke out on my forehead. I tugged at the corner of Daphne's clothes, hoping she would take me to the hospital. A trace of worry flashed in her eyes, and she hesitated for a moment, but when she heard Daniel's urging voice outside the door, she still chose to shake off my hand and left with Daniel. Before I lost consciousness, I seemed to see Mia. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital. I was still lying on that hospital bed with an IV drip from the nurse. I learned that I was brought to the hospital by a beautiful and elegant girl. Looking at the description of the person who brought me here from the nurse and combining it with the scene before I fainted from the pain, I understood in my heart that it should be Mia who brought me to the hospital. Thinking of this, my impression of Mia improved a lot, but at the same time, I also felt guilty. I know she likes me and insists on the arranged marriage with me, but I also know that I just want to use her to get out of my previous failed relationship. Just then, the door of the ward was pushed open from the outside. The person who came in was Daphne. There was displeasure on her face, but she still tried to speak in a calm voice. Who is that woman who brought you to the hospital? I calmly lied. She's a friend. Seeing my pale lips, she finally didn't continue to question me. Instead, she sat down by the bedside. How's your body? I looked at her indifferently. I'm not going to die. She frowned slightly, obviously not satisfied with my attitude. I ignored her and then said, You saw me faint. Why didn't you take me to the hospital? My fiancé deliberately emphasized the word fiancé. Her eyes showed a complex look with panic, hesitation, and also a hint of guilt. I had an urgent matter in the company at that time and didn't have time to take you to the hospital. I didn't have much of a reaction and still responded indifferently. Okay, I see. Seeing my cold attitude, she took my hand that wasn't having the injection and looked helpless. You're already so old. Why are you still as childish as when you were a kid? Stop being suspicious all day long and thinking about all sorts of things. I didn't say anything and quietly pulled my hand back. Just then, the door of the ward was pushed open again. Mia glanced at Daphne and then turned her gaze to me, speaking in a gentle voice. Ethan, I just passed by a flower shop and saw your favorite lilies, so I bought you a bunch. I also bought you a new portion of rice porridge and steamed egg custard. I smiled. Thank you, Mia. After what happened at the banquet yesterday noon, I'm now also willing to call her Mia, just like I used to when we were kids. There was joy in Mia's eyes. She gave a soft mm and happily set up the table for me and laid out the food. I wasn't polite either. I took the spoon she handed me and started eating. Daphne, who was ignored beside us, instantly turned livid with anger and gritted her teeth, saying, Ethan, what do you mean? I calmly drank the rice porridge and ignored her anger. Daphne hadn't seen my smile for a long time. For a moment, she had an illusion of losing something important, but soon, she was carried away by her anger. She pointed at me and said, Ethan, how dare you show me a face because of another woman? You're not a child anymore. What are you pretending? For you even found someone to act with you. You really disappoint me so much. Don't forget, we're getting married in 5 days. Don't come crawling back to me and regret it." After saying that, Daphne raised her hand and knocked over the rice porridge and steamed egg custard in front of me, then slammed the door and left. I looked at the person who was standing in front of me, and I didn't care about refuting Daphne. I said nervously, "Mia, are you okay? Did you get burned?" Mia gently pressed my arm with the foredrip, turned around to clean up the scattered food, and spoke in a gentle voice. "It's okay, the porridge isn't hot. I'm not burned. How about you? Are you hurt anywhere?" I knew she was just comforting me, because I had just drunk that bowl of porridge and it was obviously very hot. But in order not to delay her in dealing with the ... I didn't expose it. "I'm fine. How about you go to the nurse's station to deal with the wound first and ask the nursing staff to come in and clean up?" Mia agreed and did as I said. When she came back, the mess in the ward had been cleaned up. She put her hand by her side and I couldn't see the wound, but I guessed it should be quite serious. I lowered my head and didn't dare to look at her. "I'm sorry, it's my fault that you got hurt. I'll pay you back for the medical expenses and the cost of the clothes." Mia chuckled and gently rubbed the top of my head with her uninjured hand. "Brother Ethan, why are you still like you were when you were a kid? It's not your fault, but you're still apologizing. Besides, I'm not short of your money." Although she said so, I still felt sorry. She seemed to see through my thoughts and changed the subject. "Why did Daphne say you were acting?" My hand on the quilt tightened, and I smiled because I was so stupid that I once asked a woman to act with me in order to make her jealous and make myself feel that she cared about me. But the ending didn't turn out as I wished. Daphne wasn't jealous. Instead, she scolded me severely. Perhaps she didn't love me anymore from that time on, but I was so infatuated that I couldn't see her clearly. In the next 2 days, I took leave and stayed in the hospital. Mia also came to accompany me without fail every day, and every time, she brought me all kinds of things, including lilies in different colors, the food that I liked and could eat, and various exquisite gifts. It's different from the leftovers and damaged gifts that Daphne gave me. These little things made me feel the warmth of being loved again. During this period, I didn't take the initiative to contact Daphne. Naturally, she wouldn't bow her head to me either. She just blindly thought that I would, as always, lower my stance and come to her to make peace, until the day I was discharged from the hospital and went home. I saw Daphne again at home, whom I hadn't seen for several days. There was a strong smell of cigarettes on her. Under the red shoulder straps, her white collarbone was exposed, but there were large stains on the hem of her dress. She exuded a sense of decadence and fatigue all over. When she heard the sound of the door opening, she moved her hand pressing on her temple and walked towards me. "Ethan, you're back." I frowned subconsciously and took a step back when I noticed her abnormality. She seemed not to see the resistance on my face and forcefully hugged me. "Come on, it's been 2 days already. Don't be angry anymore. We're getting married in 3 days. Yes, we were supposed to get married in 3 days. Unfortunately, the bride won't be you anymore." I silently thought to myself, but I still helped her back to the room and left her on the bed. The next day, when Daphne woke up, she saw that she was still wearing the same dress as yesterday and that she had even been put on the bed, without taking off her shoes. For a moment, she was a bit annoyed, but then, there was more of a vague uneasiness in her heart. Just then the phone beside her rang. It was a call from Daniel. Daphne gently soothed the other end of the phone with a few words, got up, tidied herself up, and went out again. She didn't notice that I wasn't at home, and she didn't even notice that some things were missing from the house. On this day, Mia made an appointment with me, saying that she wanted to give me a surprise. I didn't refuse, so I went out early in the morning to keep the appointment. But to my surprise, she actually took me to the most luxurious bridal shop at the top of Yunnan. I had also brought Daphne here many times before, hoping that she would wear the wedding dress that I designed for her with my own hands. But Daphne always said, "The wedding will cost a lot anyway. There's no need to spend so much money on just one wedding dress." At that time, I was naive and actually believed her. After her continuous brainwashing, now that I think about it, as the president of a company, would she really be short of the money for a wedding dress? It was just a pie in the sky that she drew for me because she didn't love me. Seeing that I didn't move forward for a long time, Mia said beside me, "Let's go in first and see if there's anything you like. If there isn't, we can go abroad to try some more." "Okay." There was a trace of humility in her gentle tone. I smiled faintly. "It's nothing. I just thought of something." I roughly scanned the latest suits in the store and took 5 sets to try. On first dot, just when I was trying on the 3rd set, by coincidence, I met Daphne and Daniel. When Daphne saw me in the suit, a flash of panic appeared in her eyes. "Ethan, why are you here? Wasn't the wedding dress already ordered?" I saw the man's hand resting on the woman's waist through the reflection in the mirror. My tone was calm, as if I was facing a stranger. "I'm just trying some more." Daphne's heart felt as if it was being pinched, and it ached. She immediately withdrew Daniel's big hand on her waist and winked at him, signaling him to leave first. but Daniel deliberately pretended not to see it and said, "Manager, we're here to pick up the suit we ordered before." In the face of Daniel's provocation, I didn't get as angry as before. Instead, I just admired Mia in the wedding dress in the mirror. On the contrary, Daphne's face looked a bit unsightly. She turned to him and said, "The matter of the suit isn't urgent. You go back." First, when Daniel saw that the woman was showing him a bad face, he left angrily and dissatisfied at once. Mia, who was watching all this beside us, suddenly spoke up. I didn't expect Daphne to be so tolerant that she can even indulge such a hot assistant by her side. Daphne remembered that Mia had also appeared in the hospital before. She was just about to refute when I interrupted her. "Daphne, you'd better go and chase after your assistant. I think he doesn't look very well, and I'm afraid something unexpected might happen later." Daphne's face turned pale. In the end, she didn't say anything and turned around to chase after Daniel. My good mood was spoiled, and I didn't have the energy to continue trying on the clothes. But I didn't want to disappoint Mia either, so I was in a bit of a dilemma. Mia saw my embarrassment and said gently, "You must be tired after trying on the clothes for so long. Let's go have lunch." Then she turned to the store manager and said, "Wrap up all the clothes that were tried on just now." Under Mia's strong insistence, I couldn't refuse. In the end, I took all these clothes. In the restaurant, I found a relatively quiet place and came straight to the point with Mia. "Mia, I know how you feel about me, but I really can't accept your kindness. I'm not trying to hurt you, but I need a bride right now, and I hope you can help me. We can sign a marriage agreement. Would you like to?" Next, I told Mia what I had seen and heard in the hospital that day and my plan for the future. She also understood the change in my attitude towards Daphne and was willing to help me. "Ethan, I'm willing to submit to you wholeheartedly. No matter what you do to me, I'm willing to accept it, even if it means death. So you don't have to feel guilty towards me. Maybe you'll think I'm a simp, but in the world of a simp, the simp is the protagonist. I'm willing to wait for you and follow you. As long as you turn around, you will definitely be able to see me." Mia's words stirred up ripples in my heart. I knew she loved me, but I didn't know that her love for me was so passionate. In the following days, Daphne didn't go home, and I almost finished packing my luggage. I threw away everything that should be thrown away and took away everything that should be taken away. I also converted the rent for the house I had lived in for all these years into cash according to the market price and left it for her in the bank card. On the afternoon before the wedding, I called Daphne 5 or 6 times before she finally answered, "You don't have to go home tonight, just stay in the hotel. You have to get up early tomorrow morning to do your makeup and styling, so this can save some time. I'll send you the location." "Okay, got it." After hanging up the phone, I pulled my luggage and left the house that I had guarded for 5 years without looking back. That night, Daphne also came to the hotel, as I said, and stayed in the room next to mine. On the other side of me was Mia. On the day of the wedding, I stood in the center of the stage wearing one of the high-end custom-made suits that Mia bought for me and hosted the wedding myself. Daphne and Mia stood respectively outside the 2 side doors. Dear guests and friends, hello everyone. I'm Ethan, the bride of this wedding. Thank you all for coming to my wedding in person. I won't say too much now. I directly invite my bride Mia to enter the stage. The music started playing, and first, the wedding photos of Mia and me were shown on the big screen, and the lights were also directed at Mia. The woman was reserved and noble, and her expensive wedding dress added more elegance and charm to her. There were various discussions among the audience because on the invitation cards they received, the name of the bride was different from the woman on the stage. At this moment, Daphne in the corner was first angry, and then a continuous sense of panic spread through her limbs. She watched me extend my hand to Mia, and we both said, "I do" to each other. Then she realized what was happening and rushed onto the stage, in big steps, pointing at Mia in disbelief. "Ethan, what's going on? Wasn't I supposed to be the bride? Why is it her?" I picked up the microphone and said word by word, "Miss Daphne, I know very well who the bride of my wedding is." Daphne took a step forward, her eyes red. "What do you mean? What about me?" I stopped Mia, who was about to step forward to stand in front of me, and looked at Daphne calmly. "Miss Daphne, my meaning is very clear. My bride is Mia, and we have already broken up. I sent you the breakup text message a day ago." Daphne took out her phone from her pocket in a panic. On the screen, the words breakup were clearly displayed. Her heart sank to the bottom, and it hurt as if it was being cut by a knife. "No, it's not like that, Ethan. You said you loved me the most, and that you would never leave me in your whole life. You won't marry another man. I did say those words before, but now I'm tired and don't love you anymore." I held Mia's hand, took the wedding ring from the ceremonial girl, and put it on her hand. Mia also cooperated and helped me put on the wedding ring, and then she raised our hands that were interlocked with each other. "Daphne, Ethan is now married to me and is my man." At this moment, Daphne truly realized that I didn't love her anymore. I had married another woman. No, I don't agree to the breakup, and I don't agree to you marrying this man either. You love me, and you can only marry me." As she said that, Daphne rushed forward like a madwoman and grabbed my arm, trying to separate the hands that Mia and I had interlocked. I took the opportunity to let go of Mia and raised my hand to slap Daphne across the face. "Daphne, this is my wedding. If you want to go crazy, do it somewhere else." Daphne didn't care about the slap mark on her face at all. She grabbed my hand, and her voice trembled. "Ethan, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Take back what you just said, and let's get married." I shook off her hand in disgust and looked at her sarcastically. "Do you really want to marry me?" As soon as the words left my mouth, the wedding photos on the large screen behind me were replaced by the surveillance footage from the hospital that day. Daphne's affectionate confession that day clearly reached everyone's ears. Daphne felt as if a basin of ice water had been poured over her head, and the coldness spread through her internal organs. The people in the audience instantly understood the relationship and started whispering among themselves. Her pupils shrank sharply, and she kept shaking her head vehemently, denying it. No, it's not like that. I love you, Ethan. I was just possessed by some kind of madness at that time and didn't see my own feelings clearly. When I saw you getting married to another man, my heart really hurt. I can't live without you." Just then, Daniel in the audience couldn't hold back and rushed up. Daphne's hands, hanging by her sides, tightly grasped the hem of her clothes as if suppressing something, and her eyes were fixed on the man. "Brother Simeon, what did you just say?" "Possessed by madness. You said that all of your heart belonged to me. Don't forget, I'm still carrying your child." Upon hearing Daniel's words, the corners of my mouth curved into a faint smile. "Miss Jean, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't just say anything. Is that child really yours and Daphne's?" As I spoke, I took a paternity test report from the ceremonial girl and handed it to Daphne. Daphne opened it in confusion, and the fear in Daniel's eyes beside her spilled out. She hurriedly stepped forward and grabbed Daphne's arm. "Brother Simeon, listen to me." Before she could finish her sentence, Daphne pushed her away and roared, "Daniel, you really are something. The child isn't mine, and you actually kept it from me for so long. Get out before I completely lose my temper. Get out of my sight with the child. Get out of Daphne's group and don't come to me again." Daniel's eyes were filled with tears, but since the truth had been revealed, he could only slink away. After driving Daniel away, Daphne turned to look at me, her tone sincere. "Ethan, I'm sorry. It was my fault before. I was a jerk. Can you forgive me and come back to me, please?" I looked at her calmly and said firmly, "It's over between us. My bride is Mia." Tears streamed down Daphne's eyes, and she took a trembling step towards me. "Ethan, I regret it. I shouldn't have done something to betray you first. Please give me another chance. Okay, I love you. I really love you. I've loved you since we were kids. There is no medicine for regret in this world. I don't understand why some people only know how to cherish after they've lost something, but once it's lost, it's too late to want to cherish it." As I stepped back, I said, "We can't go back, Daphne. It's over between us." Thump. With red eyes, Daphne fell to the ground in front of me, looking like a broken porcelain doll. She grabbed the hem of my dress and begged, "Ethan, please forgive me and come back to me. I don't believe you can fall in love with another woman so quickly. Give me another chance. You can even hit me or scold me." Mia stepped forward and stood in front of me, looking down at Daphne with a blank expression. "Daphne, you've been given many chances, but you just couldn't hold on to them. In the end, the wedding ended in a farce. The guests were dismissed, Daniel was driven away, Daphne was thrown out by the bodyguards, and I went home with Mia. At Mia's house, she sat on the sofa and looked at me with great interest. "How did you suspect that the child in her belly wasn't Daniel's?" I felt a little uneasy under her gaze and confessed truthfully. "A few days ago, when I got out of the hospital and went home, I accidentally saw Daphne drunk at home. So, I had someone look into it. At that time, Daphne was pregnant, and Daniel cared about her a lot. It was impossible for her to get drunk unless they had a quarrel. Sure enough, as I expected, Daniel had a big fight with her after he saw her coming out of a hotel intimately with another man. Following this clue, I found out what happened later. So, what are your plans next?" I had already thought about this question when I decided to change the bride, so I answered without hesitation. "I've already applied to the hospital to study abroad. The documents will be ready in a few days. I'll stay abroad for a few years. This way, I can pursue further studies, relax, and take care of my father. At the same time, I'll come back to China when the time is right." After saying that, I looked at Mia with an inquiring gaze. Mia tentatively took my hand. When she saw that I didn't object, she interlocked her fingers with mine. "Just go ahead and do whatever you want. I'll always support you and be with you." I smiled at her and said sincerely, "Thank you, Mia." In the following days, I went back to work at the hospital, and Daphne didn't show up in front of me. I just heard from Mia that after the wedding incident, the stock of Daphne's group plummeted, and the whole company was in a precarious situation. I knew that Mia had something to do with it, but I didn't stop her because I still vividly remembered the incident where Daphne forced me to drink alcohol for the order, causing me to have a gastric hemorrhage and be hospitalized. But what I didn't know was that Julian from Daphne's group at the dinner table that day was also driven out by Mia, and she even issued a ban on him in the business world. 5 days later, the hospital approved my documents for studying abroad, and Mia and I embarked on our journey abroad. However, we met Daphne at the airport. She had lost her former high spirits and looked decadent and slovenly. She took out a bunch of red Chinese roses from behind her, on which she placed the wedding rings that were originally meant for our wedding. She knelt down on one knee in front of me. "Ethan, I've truly repented. Please forgive me. These days, without you, I haven't been happy for a single day. My home is empty, and even my heart has left with you. Please come back to me. You loved me so much before, it's impossible for you to stop loving me just like that. As long as you come back, I'll definitely treat you even better than before." These sweet words were what I had always wanted to hear from her before, but now my heart was completely unmoved. "Daphne, when things aren't fair, only by sacrificing the kindest one can there be peace, and I was the one you sacrificed. So, I left quietly without making a fuss. Why do you have to keep pestering me? I once loved you regardless of everything. I had to break down my self-esteem, exhausted my love, and even crashed into the metaphorical, impassable wall, until finally, my enthusiasm was completely extinguished by you. My heart has been wounded beyond repair by you, and there will no longer be a single tear in my eyes for you. You've hurt me so deeply that you no longer have the right to make me turn back. Moreover, your regret is not only because you hurt me, but also because you lost me, and your company can't keep going. I will never come back to you. Let's each live well and not disturb each other in the future." After saying that, ignoring her pale face, I shook off her kneeling figure, took Mia's hand, and left. Embarking on our journey abroad, the next time I heard news about Daphne was from a domestic newspaper. Daphne Group went bankrupt, and Daphne suffered from depression and jumped off a building to her death. The once unattainable flower on the high mountain ended up in such a tragic way, and everyone was filled with sighs. But all of this had nothing to do with me anymore. 3 years later, during my time with Mia, I gradually healed my past wounds and truly fell in love with her. We held a grand and solemn wedding abroad. 5 years later, I successfully graduated. With a doctorate degree, Mia shifted the focus of the company back to China, and we returned to our hometown again. But unlike the last time we left, this time we had a little one by our side.